Less than 10 minutes before her Olympic comeback was set to begin, Alysa Liu was nowhere near the stadium. It was the inaugural week of the Milano Cortina Games, and the weight on Team USA had reached a fever pitch. For Alysa, this was her chance to silence the doubters for good. It was the moment the Prodigy, once consumed by burnout, would prove she could conquer the ice once more. But there were no focused warm-ups, no final preparations. She was trapped inside a van. The streets of Milan were at a standstill, paralyzed by a vice-presidential motorcade that had ensnared the American champion in a web of security, while her rivals were already gliding through their final routines. Any other athlete would have shattered. For anyone else, an Olympic dream would have died right there in that traffic jam. Yet, when Alysa finally exploded through the arena's entrance with just seconds to go, there was no panic on her face. There was a laugh. In a frantic rush, she fastened her skates, foregoing the globally televised warm-up entirely, and took to the ice, where she performed a short program so filled with joy and defiance, it left every critic speechless. After landing her trademark double axel with a minor, wobbly imperfection, she didn't flinch. She didn't cast a fearful glance toward the judges. Instead, a playful, almost comical expression spread across her face. As she explained later with a shrug, it was her oopsie moment. That single oopsie became the emblem of her entire Olympic resurgence, representing so much more than a slightly flawed landing. It was a declaration. It was her message to the world that the Alysa Liu in Milan was an entirely new person from the one who disappeared 4 years prior. Her return wasn't about chasing medals anymore. It was about reclaiming her own life, and she was about to prove that when you let go of the score and embrace the artistry, you become truly unstoppable. To grasp the true scale of Alysa Liu's return, you must first understand the towering shadow she cast as a young girl. Long before she became a renegade, she was a flawless machine. Born in Clovis, California, and forged in the competitive furnace of Bay Area figure skating, Alysa was the ultimate creation. Her father, Arthur Liu, famously poured over $1 million into her training before she was old enough for high school. At just 12, she became the youngest skater ever to execute a triple axel. By 13, she shattered a 22-year-old record held by Tara Lipinski to become the youngest U.S. national champion in the nation's history. She was hailed as the savior, the girl with the iconic braids and an unwavering smile, destined to resurrect American women's figure skating. But beneath the surface, the Prodigy was gasping for air. Her existence was a brutal, unyielding schedule of 5 a.m. alarms and lessons completed in the back seat of a car. She was a natural extrovert, condemned to a life of profound isolation, shielded from friends but utterly exposed to the relentless, 24/7 glare of online judgment. By the time she stepped onto the ice in Beijing for the 2022 Olympics at 16 years old, she was landing quadruple jumps for a sport she had grown to despise. As the world saw her secure a 6th-place finish, Alysa was secretly counting down the moments until she could unlace her skates forever. She wasn't competing for the podium, she was fighting her way to the exit. A few weeks later, she stunned the world by announcing she was retiring. She didn't just step away from the sport, she fled. For 2 years, her skates were left to collect dust in a closet. In her own words, Alysa admitted that for a time, she had no idea where they even were. The world saw it as the lost chapter of Alysa Liu. For her, however, it was the first time she had ever truly been found. She embraced everything the skating establishment had forbidden. She took road trips with people who wouldn't know a salcho from a Lutz. She became a psychology student at UCLA, immersing herself in the normal social world she had been denied for a decade. She ventured to Nepal, trekking all the way to the base camp of Mount Everest. She tried her hand at volleyball, then tennis. She dyed her hair with audacious raccoon stripes and got piercings that would have sent a conventional skating official into shock. She was, as she put it, living her absolute best life, certain she would never return to the world of competitive ice skating. She confessed later that on a deep level, she truly detested the sport. It was a part of her life she wanted absolutely nothing to do with. But then in early 2024, a change began. It wasn't a call from a coach. It was an ordinary ski trip with her friends. The feeling of the wind rushing past, the thrill of pure speed it started, a chain reaction in her mind. She realized she missed that rush of dopamine. On a whim, she visited a public rink, just to feel the ice again. In her old battered skates, she attempted a double axel and nailed it. That was the ignition. But this time, everything would be different. If a comeback was going to happen, it wouldn't be dictated by her father's rigid regimen. It would be orchestrated by her, with her choice of music, and governed by a new philosophy that placed joy far above any place on the podium. The 2025 season was meant to be an experiment, a quiet way for Alysa to see if she could hang with the sport's new titans. It became, instead, a relentless tour de force of staggering technical skill and raw, unapologetic heart. As the 2025 World Championships commenced in Boston, all the talk revolved around the seemingly unstoppable orange tide of the Japanese team. Alysa Liu, having returned to intensive training for less than a year, was considered a non-entity, an afterthought in the grand narrative. And then, her short program began. She delivered a performance that wasn't just a personal best, it was a thunderclap that shook the entire field, showcasing a newfound depth her younger incarnation had yet to grasp. She wasn't skating to win over the judges, she was skating to unveil her soul on the ice. Her performance was a complete and utter revelation, culminating in her becoming the first American woman in 19 years to claim the world title, breaking a curse that had shadowed the U.S. program since 2006. But the true significance of that victory was not captured by the gleam of the gold medal. It was revealed in her raw emotion in the kiss and cry area, where tears of profound pride for her performance, not for her placement, streamed down her face. She had taken back the sport on her own terms and was suddenly the undisputed favorite for the Milan Olympics. Yet, for the very first time in her life, the crushing weight of expectation felt absent. She openly told the press in Boston that medals held no power of validation over her. Her worth, she explained, was forged in the act of creating her art. This moment heralded the arrival of Alysa 2.0. This was an athlete who viewed the Olympic arena as her stage and the final score as little more than a footnote. We now find ourselves in the thick of the Milan Games, where the Blade Angels have made their grand entrance. The nickname originated in a group chat between Alysa, Amber Glenn, and Isabeau Levito, a way to forge a sisterhood in a sport engineered for intense rivalry. This alliance has since transformed them into the most celebrated trio in the history of American skating. They were a band of insurgents who shattered the outdated Ice Princess mold. In the team event earlier this month, Alysa was the undeniable spirit of the American squad. Despite the pandemonium of a motorcade delay that cost her a proper warm-up, her second-place finish secured 9 indispensable points for Team USA. She moved across the ice with a contagious sense of liberation. When Team USA took the highest step on the podium to accept their back-to-back team gold, it was Alysa's leap of joy that soared above all others. What followed was the infamous medal incident. Soon after the awards, a video went viral showing Alysa celebrating with her gold medal. In a fit of pure elation, she jumped with such force that the medal tore from its ribbon and crashed onto the floor. "It got pretty scratched up and nicely dented," she quipped during a later interview. Officials promptly offered to replace the damaged prize with a flawless new one, but Alysa resisted. She confessed a fondness for the flawed medal, feeling a personal connection to it. For her, its imperfections mirrored her own career. It wasn't perfect, it was a little banged up, but it was utterly authentic, a quality that captivated millions of fans who had grown weary of the sanitized Olympic story. Tonight, February 17, 2026, Alysa Liu glides back into the spotlight for the individual women's short program. The pressure is astronomical, the stakes impossibly high, but a glance at her in the warm-up area reveals her clutching a plush toy of Pochita from the anime Chainsaw Man. This is her moment. She enters the arena as the reigning world champion and the winner of the Grand Prix final. She is the overwhelming favorite to shatter a 24-year drought for an American individual gold, but the thought of the anthem isn't on Alysa Liu's mind. She is focused on the atmosphere. Her programs this season are a testament to her creative control, from her hand-picked Lady Gaga medley for the free skate, to the defiant, edgy costumes, and even her choice of coaches, who operate as her partners in creation rather than her instructors. She has repeatedly told reporters that she approaches competitions as if they were theatrical performances. Her objective is to electrify the audience, to deliver a transcendent experience. This very philosophy is her greatest asset. While her rivals from Japan and South Korea compete under the immense weight of their national federations, Alysa skates purely for the thrill. She stands as living proof that stepping away from the sport at 16 was the most brilliant move she could have ever made. That break gave her the freedom to mature, to find her own voice, and to realize that skating is simply what she does, not the sum of who she is. To perform is to make a declaration of her own being. Regardless of whether she captures the individual gold tonight or finishes last, she has already claimed the ultimate prize of the 2026 Games, the right to be entirely and unapologetically herself. For Alysa Liu, in 2026, success is not defined by points on a screen. It is defined by the power of her own will. She has become a beacon for every young athlete, proving you don't have to stay on the track laid for you at age 5. You have permission to leave. You have permission to attend college. You have permission to climb Mount Everest. And if you ever choose to come back, you can do it with raccoon-dyed hair and a grin that tells the world it's not that serious. She has overthrown the archetype of the Ice Princess and installed a rebel queen in her place. She has traded the terror of failure for the pure bliss of performance. And in that exchange, she has made figure skating more resonant with a new generation than any triple axel ever could. Alysa Liu is the first skater to prove that the most profound maneuver you can execute on the ice isn't a quad jump. It is the revolutionary decision to be yourself. The individual short program is beginning now. With her striped hair set, the Empress of Errors prepares for the spotlight as Milan's gaze is locked upon her. Figures of grace glide on steel wings, and in their midst, Alysa Liu inhabits the very destiny she carved for herself.